right, let's start with the Punch. The major story is business.
It's business, yes.
6.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy. Revenue falls by 1.89 trillion naira. Nigerians face tougher times. The riders states federal government will be crippled, says Finance Commissioners Forum. Using revenue to service subsidy debts, others dangerous, says experts. Federal government spending deficit rises to 3.09 trillion naira, says report. You find the story on page 19 of the Punch. I mean, Zainab Ahmed said all of this yesterday.
I was listening to her while she was talking. I was saying she's giving her report card of it's like F9, 9 F9s. You know, everything is F9. That was the report card she was tendering yesterday. You know, January to April, state of the nation report in terms of our economy, and it's all bad news, complete bad news. She's saying that in the first scenario, the projection is that subsidy will have to also continue into next year, and that the projection is that about 6 trillion will be spent on subsidy. This subsidy I was spending 250 billion naira for in a year, you know, post Jonathan. And this was when President Buhari even said in the campaigns in 2014, what is subsidy? What does it mean? You know, when he came in, he realized that there was subsidy, and he continued to pay in. And the bill for subsidy in the year, the transfers for subsidy was a quarter of a trillion, 250 billion. Today, they projected that they will spend well over almost 4 trillion this year, and it keeps growing. And the projection for next year now is almost double what they're spending this year, almost 7 trillion. I don't know. It's the indices are clear. This is an economy that has, to use a lighter word, that is completely in the ruins. It's in tatters. The numbers are clear. See the numbers Zainab Ahmed released yesterday. Total revenue for Nigeria between January and April 2022 is 1.6 trillion. That's the total, how much we earned, all the receipts. The expenditure for that period is 4.7 trillion. That's how much they spent. Now, if you look at the expenditure profile, statutory transfers, normal payment for statutory payments, 289 billion. Debt service is 1.9 trillion. To service the debts we owe, to pay the say, 1.9 trillion. Recurrent expenditure is 1.7 trillion. Then capital expenditure is a mere 773 billion. While a consuming economy, completely consumption based. This is what it means. And then the total is that the total revenue is less than even debt service. All the entire revenue was not enough to pay debt. In simple English, the country is broke. That's what it means. You know, long story short, we did not even earn enough to service our debts. I mean, if you pick up a dictionary now and look for the word bankruptcy, this is what it means. It looms. When you can't pay your bills again, you declare yourself bankrupt. The business has failed. That was the report card that Zainab Ahmed got yesterday. And we should be worried. We should really be worried as we move on. And she said next year will be bad. That's what she said. That there will be tougher days. That's what she's saying. You know, Nigeria needs a bold and decisive leader that can have a first big step into thinking of getting the country out of this mess. It's a mess, complete mess. You know, and it appears like the guys we have elected in government to solve this problem have no clue. Because one progressive problem, the problem is that progressive, from one step after the other. I'm sure that if we have this government in place for the next 4 years, we'll have this problem times 4. Because this is how it started from the first year. It wasn't this bad in 2015, but progressively it became like that. And then the government solution to all of the problem was borrow more. Now you can't even service the debt because all the money you earn counts. And if you ask the government what's the problem, they'll tell you underperforming revenue. Revenue is not performing because of crude oil production challenges. Everything is crude oil. You know, when President Buhari came to power, diversification was the language he brought to the table. We'll diversify this economy away from a monoproduct economy into large-scale economy that accommodates other ventures, like diversification to agriculture. I spoke about that a lot, but that's been abandoned now, I'm sure. Nobody's talking about that anymore. It's oil. And there's huge oil theft going on in this country. It's the biggest single economic problem in this country today, crude oil theft. You know, the MD of Chevron for West Africa said, it's a criminal operation, and it's very different from the agitation by host communities in the Niger Delta. It's a big crime scene in Niger Delta today. The other day, I got a guest here who was a former environmental commissioner in Bayelsa State, and he was talking about how rampant it is and how difficult it will be to stop oil theft because everybody's involved, including a large section of the security agencies. You know, he talked about umbilical cords, how they steal this oil and take it to proper export terminals and sell them off. When NNPC gave his first quarter report, it said that $1 billion worth of crude has been stolen for the first quarter of 2022. You know, these are the kind of problems that the country faces today, and I think it's only a bold and decisive leader ready to take out of this kind of problems that Nigerians should vote for in 2023. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same of the same. We'll keep repeating these things every day.
You know, Zainab Ahmed talked about 2 scenarios on how to, if we're going to continue with subsidy. You were telling me about that, if it's going to end next year, middle of June, or if they're going to have subsidy throughout 2023.
Yeah, the projection is first case scenario, you know, is that we'll continue to pay. You know, because you cannot say by June we'll stop as if government is continue. So you plan for the whole year. So the plan, first case scenario, is 6.7 trillion for next year on subsidy. If a new government comes in by end of May and decides to remove subsidy, which I think any new government with economic sense will take the risk to do, no matter what happens, no matter whose ox is God, you know, then it can be 6.7 because that time subsidy could be half of those payments, you know. But the projection is first case scenario. The government is planning for the whole year 2023. The expenditure expectation for subsidy alone is 6.7 trillion. That's why state governments are broke, because remittances into the federation account to share, you know, has practically stopped from the NNPC side. Because NNPC, all the money we make, we use it to give them to pay for subsidy.
Did you enjoy this video? Hit the subscribe button for more, leave a comment and like. Thank you.